Everyone, we're just waiting for Instagram to kind of catch up. So once I get the go live from there, we'll get started. There it is. Okay, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this live Child Life Q&A with Annie Gunning, who is our certified child life specialist, certified grief counselor. We have a series. We try to aim to have one every month to help Annie share her expertise and her insights and provide whole family support. And this month, we're really focusing on comfort positions, comfort positioning, and how that can reduce stress and medical care and medical procedures. And I think this is going to be really beneficial for a lot of families to know and understand. So thanks for being here again with us, Annie.
Of course, yes. Happy to be here. I'm excited to talk about this. It's really, tends to be a pretty easy thing and it's so helpful, but a lot of families don't know that it's an option. So I'm glad that we have the chance to talk about it today.
Yes. As always, for those of you who are watching who are new, don't quite understand what or who a child life specialist is, Annie, could you give us your spiel? Tell us
yes,
who you are, what you do.
Just have the same one down, but I don't. I feel like I say a different one each time, but
I like the variety of it. Switch it up.
We, as child life specialists, we provide psychosocial support. So anything we can do in a medical setting, or actually now even outside of a medical setting, to help decrease stress and anxiety and increase positive coping. Typically that does involve most medical situations. So any kind of surgeries or procedures or tests. We also do education for diagnosis and help come up with coping plans and distraction that could help during those hospital procedures and tests. And we also provide support to the whole family. So that includes the siblings. The siblings are on their own journey and we need to support them and educate them and offer coping support to them as well.
Perfect. So if there's anyone who is interested in Annie's support, and you can opt in and you can connect in at hie.support. You can reach her that way. It's a wonderful way. And then, as she said, she can provide tailored support to everyone, and everyone's family and everyone's circumstances and situations are very different. So she can connect you to local resources and curate that experience for you. So before we get started and go over like specific comfort positions, it makes sense to have an idea of what comfort positions even are for people who aren't familiar with that term. And then if there's any research or evidence-based findings that that you can share with us that let us know the validity of it and how it's useful, that would be great.
Sure. And just as kind of a disclaimer, and all of this information that I'm sharing today, and we're going to share the pamphlet at the end with all the pictures and information, but it's all through Child Life on Call and the Meg Foundation. So that's where I got all this information from. They're both wonderful organizations. I work with Child Life on Call. HIE works with Child Life on Call. So I just wanted to put that out there that you can go to both of these websites and resources to get this information as well. But to talk about comforting positions, it's an alternative to the typical or traditional restraint techniques you would hear about in the hospital. So when a child has to get some type of procedure or test done, keeping them still, this is an alternative to still providing that stillness and that comfort, but in a more comforting and supportive way. So being close to that trusted adult is very powerful. Keeping the family or that caregiver in the room with them. It's going to lessen pain and bring comfort. At most hospitals and medical stuff, that's scary. And then we want kids to be still and not, ask questions and just deal with it. Like we wouldn't do that as adults, so we shouldn't expect kids to do that either. And then research shows that holding kids down, especially on their backs, is just not a good idea. It creates avoidable stress and trauma, and then that impacts them in the future. Then they have this experience, and that's what's going to impact anything in the future. I remember when that happened last time, that's going to happen again. So we just want to minimize that so that they're not having that stressful experience. And comforting positions is a way to do that. In a couple areas just of research, there's research that has been done to back up comforting positions to show that this is helpful. Kids who are restrained during medical interventions, they typically have negative experiences. And studies show that kids who sit upright, like for an IV, and they're able to participate, that promotes a sense of control, and they typically have a better, more positive outcome. And also when we're doing this position, it generally requires less staff presence and improves parent satisfaction and decreases parent anxiety. So as a parent, we know if there's something going on with our kid that's stressful and scary for us. So if we feel better, that's going to reflect upon our child, and they're going to start feeling better as well.
Absolutely. And then what are some other key considerations to keep in mind? Just helpful tips for parents or caregivers, any type of like stress reducing techniques, things to keep in mind as their child is going through a situation like this, like you referenced, like an IV.
Sure. Lying on your back is vulnerable. Like if you think about it, when you've been in those situations where you're like, lie back, you instantly are like, what are you going to do to me? Like as humans, we have that innate response to kind of protect our inner body. So just in general, that's a vulnerable position for humans in general to be in. So this is that alternative. So sometimes that is the position that they have to be in. They have to be on their back for a procedure, but there's ways that we can still comfort them and give them that support they need so it doesn't feel so vulnerable and they feel like really supported and still empowered. Yeah. And we will talk about those. And then choice, just giving them choice on the comfort position. So there's some techniques that are, you're able to do in more than one procedure. So you can sit this way or this way. These are the options. So just giving them that choice can help reduce that anxiety by giving them that sense of control, and it increases that calm. And you're never too old for these. Even some of our older kids, I remember in the hospital, people like, oh, don't worry about going in. And they're like, you go in and the kid's scared. Like it's still scary. I think again, as adults, we get scared. So, this is not just for infants or little kids. This can be for your older kids as well.
Oh, absolutely. And then any last minute tips, advice for parents or trusted adults or caregivers regarding how to model like calmness and comfort for their child during the procedure. And then we'll start going into those comfort positions.
Yes. Relax your body, slow down your breathing, slow down the way you're talking and your tone. Kids feed off of that. And that's hard to do when you're in a situation in the hospital, especially I think mostly emergency room, because I worked in the emergency room for so many years, but kids can feed off of that. So many times people are like, what's wrong? My mom's asking, my mom did this. Yeah, but and I can go in and I can talk to them and help calm them down. And I always would offer parents to, let's step out for a minute. Why don't you go to the restroom? I'll get you something to drink, take a walk around the unit, just kind of take a few breaths, because we want to make sure that our child knows that we got this. We will help you. We are here to help you, and we're going to be calm. So take some time. If you need a staff member to step in your room so you can have a few minutes to get calm, that's okay. That's what we're here for, because it's contagious. And then just looking at those gentle, calming tones. And this is for us as staff members and as parents, just the calm, natural is what works best. Because if we go in hyped up, like we're going to do, they feed that.
Yeah, I get that. And then I know, before we start reviewing comfort positions, you also said, use this time together, sing a favorite song, tell a fun story, remind the child that they're safe, loved, and that they're in good hands.
Absolutely. Those can be great ideas for like just doing some alternate focus or distraction, help with the calming. I like to suggest too, a lot of times, I'm glad you brought this up because I forgot this part with parents, like, kids are always looking at like maybe a phone or a movie, but I always suggest like, look at some old pictures on your phone from like a past vacation or something funny you did, or pictures with friends, because that they like to talk about that. And they like to look at pictures of themselves, especially little kids. They like to look at pictures of themselves and the people they know in their family. So that can just be a good kind of distraction and connection, and get conversation focused on something else as well.
I love that. All right, so now it's time for our screen share. I know that you are going to pull up this document for
Yeah.
us.
So everyone bear with me as I try my technology.
Perfect.
Okay, so this is the guide that is available on, you can see this on Child Life on Call, and Deanna will share the link on our takeaways as well. So anyone has access to this. So I just wanted to go over it though, so we can talk about the positions and where it works best and things like that. So, and again, this can be used, excuse me, for lots of different areas of the hospital, inpatient, outpatient. I kind of refer to the emergency room a lot just because that's where I spent like 13 years. So I used it constantly in the emergency room. So this first one, tummy to tummy. So you can see, and I can't see myself on the screen anymore, but I'm going to try to show you. So tummy to tummy, just like in the picture, that can be sitting on a chair, or you can raise the bed up. So it's sitting and the child can sit with you on the bed. This is great for like they're doing an IV. So it stabilizes the arm. The child is still in a snuggled position, a hug. Mom's right there. They can talk to mom. They can look or not look, which is always needs to be the choice. I think a lot of times parents instantly want to say, don't look, don't look. But if that's a sense of control, and again, you know your parent best, but sometimes fighting them too much on that when they need to see what's happening can be more powerful than not letting them look. This is also good for any type of like injections, like shots. Like if you need to do a shot in the leg, you can see there in the picture, like both of those thighs or are, you can see those and access them. They're going to be stable. So you can do any kind of injections in the leg. IV and blood draw, I feel like those to me are all kind of the same because like we're starting a line, we're starting an IV, or we're doing a needle poke. So we're doing a needle poke, whether in your hand or your arm, it's a poke, and we need you to be still in this way. So it's just like a big giant hug is what I like to think of it as. But again, you could do, you can see in the little picture, I didn't realize that they're on the bed. And this next one, back to chest, is a great one too. And this one, like when they're this way, the arm goes around. And so this other arm is, you can see, is underneath, and that creates the stability. So again, we're hugging, we're comforting. That's how we're telling them that this is what we're going to be doing. That's how we prepare them for that. And you can see in the bottom when the mom has her leg over, and it's not pressing on them, it's not smashing them. It's just, again, providing a little bit more stability. And whenever I would prepare a child, I would always tell them that I was going to have, like, for peds, we're going to have another nurse probably come in the room, and she's going to help you hold your arm still, because it's really hard to remember to keep your arm still. That way, when they see another staff member walk in the room, they know what that is for. Like, what is she doing in here? What's he doing in here? Why is he coming in? He's going to just help you to remember to hold your arm still. And I also ask things like, do you want me to hold your hand, or do you want mom and dad to hold your hand? That way I'm not, hey, I'm going to squeeze, I'm taking your hands and holding them to keep them from moving, but we're just going to hold hands. So just presenting it, reframing it in a different way that sounds a little bit more comforting. And this is the same for any kind of blood draws, IV starts, shots, injections. It can be the same. This sideline one, we used a lot in the emergency room. We even did this. I don't know if it's on here, but we use this for IVs as well. So the sideline one, I would get, and I would always talk to the parents about this first to make sure this is what they wanted to do. It is always an option to do this. You never have to do this. And I had parents too. I didn't do this one with kids, but there was other ones where I, as a child life specialist, was the supporter and the holder, because the parents just weren't able to be in the room. It was too stressful for them. And that is okay. No judgment. That is what I am here for. I am here to provide that support. So I would always offer that, like, you can be this person and stay here. If you don't want to do that and you need to step out, I will be here. But this sideline one, so the arm, I'm trying to look at her left arm, we typically would tuck that under mom. So it's like she's giving mom a hug too. And then if they need to do the right arm for an IV or a blood draw or something, her right arm is available. And then the child has the option too to hug into mom and turn into mom, and mom can talk to her and sing to her and still hug her. You can see the leg is over the child's legs, so that, again, we're just providing that stabilization and mom is doing that. Now, parents will be like, I don't want to be the one, like, they're going to be mad at me. No, we asked mom to hug you like this. We're the ones who were doing the things to help them. And I don't like to say we're doing this and it's bad. We're the helpers. This is something we have to do to help your body. And mom's here to hug you and snuggle you and make sure you feel safe. You can do this for, you know, like a head lac, eye lac, or, you know, something on the face, you know, like a laceration for stitches. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Depends on like how old the child is. I feel like 2-year-old, I will say 2-year-old lacs, like lacerations in the face, were probably my least favorite thing that ever came into the emergency room because it's so hard to do. They're just, you couldn't explain a lot to them. So sometimes doing these holds with the parents nearby were really, really helpful. As long as everybody knew ahead of time, this is what we were doing. Oral exam, anything on the face and the eyes too. So like we talked about laying flat, how that's vulnerable. She's laying flat, but it's very comforting. And then she has the distraction at the top as well. The child life specialist is there trying to provide some distraction and alternate focus. This is another one that I did not use this one a lot, but it can also be very effective because she's got eye contact with her parent. She's holding hands, so it still is safe. She's still being snuggled by dad and held by dad. So this is a good one to do anything like that on the face or the head. You see them, you know, they're going to do some stitches. So this was, I don't know, this one up for me was a little bit hard, but it's obviously a possibility just depending on what is comfortable for you and your child.
Yeah.
This one is one that's used a lot for when you have to do a urine cath. So they have to lay on their back. And so that way mom is just holding over. Mom can be right by them, talking to them, providing that distraction, but arm over the top. So she's still feeling comforted and snuggled, but then her legs and the bottom part of her body is there and still for the staff to be able to do what they need to do. This is also a good one to be able to do for any kind of leg injections as well. And there is a note there for, this is the position for girls. For boys, legs are usually straight or they can be straight. And then babies. I did a lot of comfort positions with babies in that it was just really preparing the parents and talking to the parents about it, because babies definitely can do comfort positions. That sideline one was that we showed earlier with the little girl and the mom. I even used that with infants, and the mom could nurse while the infant was getting their IV or getting their blood draws. So that way the baby was laying right next to mom, can hear mom's heartbeat, hear mom's voice, smell mom, and nurse at the same time, all very comforting. Which makes it easier too to get that IV or get that blood work when they're calm. Swaddling, I would typically, if the baby was young enough and that's something that the baby liked, we would swaddle. We would keep everything contained except for like that middle photo, that the arm that was out. So they feel more secure and comforted. And then we would do sweeties or like it's sugar water. That was something which provides like a natural pain reliever for really young infants. And so we would also use that either with a little tiny syringe or with their passy. And then you can see the other two where mom in those two photos is holding the baby chest to chest. So you're just doing a chest to chest and the arm is out below. So they still have access to this arm. And you still need someone else stabilizing that arm because they're going to move it at any point. Even though they're tiny, they're very strong. So just having the baby close into you instead of just laying out flat, just out in the open, flailing around where they don't know where they are makes things harder. And so keeping them comforted and in to you is an option. Like I'm showing all of these as because I want you to know there are good ways to do these techniques and these what we call restraints, because there's times we do have to keep them. We do have to keep them still. That's what I ultimately would say to a parent. Like, ultimately, they have to be still to get these sutures in the chin. Like, we have to have them still.
Yeah.
And this is, something that we can try for these.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to stop sharing.
Wonderful. So I know that you had mentioned that this is Meg Foundation, and that we're going to post the link to this and Child Life on Call in our blog. In addition to those, if you want to talk about maybe that foundation more, if you want to just have any recommendations for resources for parents to learn a little bit more about comfort positions, or even pain management, or like stress reducing techniques, that would be a great time.
Sure. And if you the Meg Foundation for Pain is a wonderful foundation. It's the US, or was it I'm trying to think. They just did an awesome article too. A Child Life friend of mine just did a great article about Child Life specialists and how we help cope with pain and trauma in the hospital and things like that. But the Meg Foundation, great foundation, just that talks in general about pediatric pain, chronic pain, acute pain, and how we can help kids so they're not experiencing this pain. It's not all like medication, things like that. There's a lot of resources on there. It's wonderful. A lot of resources on there you can find if your child does have a lot of issues with pain. And I'm trying to think of other, I can't think. What else did you ask me?
Oh, just any other references or resources, like Support Spot, Child Life on Call.
Oh, yeah. It is on our Support Spot app. So all of our families who have access to the Support Spot app for our Hope for HIE families, this Positions for Comfort guide is on there. And you can even go on the app and create like your Positions for Comfort, and show the hospital or print them out. Hey, this is what works for my kid. We've tried it before and I know this is what works. Because sometimes you might have that resistance. And when I worked in my emergency department, me and another child specialist talked with the nurses, like, hey, these are the positions we want to do for this procedure. What are the barriers? What's going to make it work better? And we just kind of talked through it. And and they would talk with us about why we need to maybe change a little bit and why we need to move direction, or how it made it harder for them. So talk to that healthcare team. There's ways that we can implement this so it's not just laying on your back and being scared. And I have to add this part too, because there were times that we did have to do a bundle up with a blanket, because it was just a 2-year-old or 3-year-old, it was just not going to happen. But I prepared them for that. I prepared the parents for that. I prepared the child for that. And then we still did distraction. The parents were still there snuggling. We had to have that extra component because, like I said, in some cases, they have to be still.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of this with us. As always, we will turn this into a blog, key takeaways. This will be on our Child Life Q&A playlist on YouTube. But as we mentioned at the very beginning of this series, if you have a specific question, if you have any concerns, reach out to Annie. You can do so through hie.support. You can email her, annieg@hopeforhie.org. And she'll get back to you and help provide that support. But until next time, I believe our next session is in April. We're going to talk about our Super Sibs and SOAR virtual platforms, so people can get a glimpse into it if they haven't already. But thanks for being here and watching. And Annie, again, thanks for sharing your expertise.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
Bye, everyone.